Hey, it's Stu, Season 3 guests. Wow, if you're into the 1960s, this certainly gives you a taste of the 1960s. We've got the whole bit here. We've got Groovy Man and Squaresville, that sort of talk. Wow. The Robertson family land at Jupiter 2 on this promised planet where young people dominate, and these young people want Will and Penny to remain behind. Not everybody will like this episode, but I got into the general craziness of it, and I must say I quite enjoy the promised planet. Then it's Fugitives in Space, also known as Episode 1 of Planet of the Apes. Then it's Space Beauty with the second of two appearances of Leonard Stone as Mr. Farnham. The woman on the left is Mr. Farnham's assistant. The creature on the right, well, that costume was used in the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea episode, Season 4, The Deadly Amphibians. Mr. Farnham wants to put Judy Robinson in a beauty contest. The best way to describe Mr. Farnham is he behaves very much like a villain from the Adam West Batman series. The two shows, Batman and Lost in Space, were up against each other at this time. And yes, without question, Leonard Stone as Mr. Farnham would be very welcome in the Adam West Batman series. The best thing about this episode, titled Space Beauty, is the musical score. The musical score is absolutely brilliant. Next we get the Flaming Planet, and the plant monster from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Season 3, makes a return. The plant attaches itself to the outside of the Jupiter 2. This episode has some great outer space action. Guy Williams gets a lot to do, great music cues, great gusto, energy, everything is working. I love the Flaming Planet. Then we get to the Great Vegetable Rebellion. This is a case of one single episode of a TV series doing extreme damage to the whole 3 seasons of the TV series. Many people who don't really know Lost in Space, they only know the Carrotman episode because that's the one people joke about in science fiction retrospectives. The writer of this episode ran out of ideas. That's basically his reason for scripting this episode of Lost in Space. But I think it's a bit unfair that people associate Lost in Space with the Carrotman when it was only one episode in an 83-episode TV series. So it's entirely unfair. As for the episode itself, I don't regard it as the worst episode of Lost in Space. The worst episode of Lost in Space was in Season 1, and it was called The Oasis, because that was the first really silly episode. So The Oasis, in my personal opinion, is the worst episode of Lost in Space. Then we get to the last episode of Lost in Space, Junkyard of Space, and this is the Junkman in front of you, the same actor from Condemned of Space. Now, what makes this image in front of you so unusual? In the whole 3 seasons of Lost in Space, we never see an alien sitting at the controls of the Jupiter 2. The Junkman has literally hijacked, stolen the Jupiter 2, which makes this very unusual. Lost in Space ended in 1968. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and the Adam West Batman series also ended in 1968. All these shows were produced at Fox. Fox was never the same after these shows left. Stu from Australia, signing out.